Alright, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Johnny Finesse. Welcome back to the channel, and today we about to watch Corridor Crew. It was in one of my comment sections down below. He told me to check it out. Shout out to him. It's about Boston Dynamics. Robots can't be fake. Visual effects artists explain why. You know what I'm saying? If you're new to the channel and have a subject, my name is Johnny Finesse. Welcome to the channel. I do reaction videos every single day. You feel me? Every single day. So if you like the channel, like the video that we about to watch, like the reaction, hit that sub button, y'all. We on the road to 1,100 subs. It'll be greatly appreciated if you do. And with that being said, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it.
Oh my god, it looks so good. This is like the best.
Because when I seen this shit like the beginning of this year, like January 1st, this shit was crazy.
I've ever seen.
The hardest
shit was
thing
crazy.
to do in CGI these days is motion.
I take one look at this bosstown robot, I'm like, that's so fake.
I don't think any VFX shop on the planet could make this 2.5 minute sequence to the flawless quality that we're seeing here.
Yeah, I just like, why do people think this is fake when our thing is real?
Before robots can take over the world, apparently they have to take over the dance floor first.
Last year, Boston Dynamics dropped a video of the robots dancing.
Yeah, I seen that
Can You
shit.
Love Me. And I happened to be right there when it went live, and like, perfect. I'm gonna leave a comment as Corridor Crew. You know, CGI can't ever beat the real thing. You guys are amazing.
Oh my god, 69,000 likes on that comment?
Damn.
Are you kidding me?
Damn.
Sure enough, thousands of comments are on this video claiming that this video was CG. It started off well, but it started looking more and more fake. We all know it's just Clint again. I don't think Corridor is saying it's real. I think they are saying it would have been better if they just did it for real. This is so obviously CGI. The scary thing is how many people are thinking this is real.
You're very special, kid.
Nah, cause I remember.
I said to take you back to the jet.
I do remember when I was watching this, Dad was saying, "Is this real?" You could check back in my video. Just, you know what I'm saying? Check back in that video. I'm like, is this shit real? Like, it looks too smooth. It looked too smooth, bro. Too smooth.
So you know, it's time for us to do our jobs. We're not going to debunk these videos. We're going to bunk them. We're going to prove that they're real. That's what bunking is, right?
Bunktown Dynamics. People just blanket assume that something like this is CGI, whereas as CGI artists, we're like, no, that's definitely real. But why do we think it's real? Why do we know that this hasn't been faked? Let's take a look. Oh my god, it looks so good! This is like the best CG I've ever seen.
So the first thing that's important to establish here is I can tell that the environment is real.
100%.
100%. The way it's interacting with the lens of the camera, the slight types of aberrations of like the out of focus parts. These kind of lens effects are extremely hard to get correct, and even major films struggle. Like the Lego movies, like the first movie, to even get anywhere close to kind of getting that real feeling.
And also, like, pattern
I never watched
recognition is a
Legos.
bit of a problem in CG because you have, like, say, some surface imperfections or some, like, textures that you want to throw down on the ground to kind of make it look rough and used. Well, you only have a texture that's this big, and now you got to tile it out to cover an entire floor of a warehouse. Well, when you do that and you start looking at it from a wide point of view, you can clearly see the tiling and that pattern repetition. What I'm looking at here is that if someone did try to do that floor in CG, they had to custom make every single little imperfection.
Yeah,
in
that little,
floor,
the little tape.
The entirety of the floor. Every tile is a custom tile. But here's the thing, Nico.
It's crazy.
I'm not exactly sure anyone was questioning the reality of the warehouse.
You're right. That means that the robot, if it's CGI...
Nah, but I did see people like up here walking and looking. Like you will see somebody walking and then they start looking.
...have to be composited into real footage. That means we're facing the challenge now of marrying CGI to the reality.
And as anyone who's married knows, it's complicated.
So we barely have to get into this, and I can already see a couple things. First thing, clipping. So when you're doing 3D animation, the objects can just pass through each other. It's not a problem.
You actually see it in our videos. Like, there's a couple moments where, like, the arm kind of, like, clips through itself. Only because I know it. Like, there's actually no connection between the shoulder and the ball. It's literally just the ball and, like, this thing just kind of hovering around it. That's one of those things that you just don't really notice when you're looking at it.
Less on the robot's joints. Look at the robot's feet. Not once do the feet ever clip through the foam floor. To have your keyframe...
Nah, that's a fact. That's a fact. I didn't even peep that shit. That's a fact.
So perfect that not once in the entire 2.5 minute...
And those are like the soft shit you would see at like a daycare or like places that you would sit down on the floor like gyms and stuff like that. That's a soft mush right there. That's soft stuff.
Dancer team does a toe slightly clip through the floor, which is real, by the way, because the established the background would have to be physically real. You're already setting yourself up for impossibility. You can look at the feet of our robot. You can see how the feet slide a little bit on the ground. You can see how the toes clip in a little bit when it's walking forwards. This fooled people, but you can already immediately see flaws when you look for it.
Oh.
You see Clint's hands.
Damn.
To be fair, watching it on your phone is very different than watching it on this 96-inch television.
That's true.
That's
Sometimes
crazy.
you have some sort of interaction with the environment that is just a little
Oh, I
too
peeped
hard
it.
to do. Not just the interaction, but like the shadow, the reflections. A lot of the times,
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
easier just to replace the entire background and make the entire shot a CG shot.
So that means
Excuse
laying
me.
down a mesh, projecting the texture onto it, relighting that texture. It becomes a nightmare instantly.
Let's say we were to do this digitally. Just looking at a robot like this with this level of fidelity, there's a few things that go into it. First is the incredible detail work in the modeling. Secondly, there's a tremendous amount of detail in the texturing. Look at all like the scratches down at the bottom of the chest, on the
Yeah.
inside of the thighs.
The robot's reflecting
crazy.
the environment too.
Yeah.
You know, it's very subtle, but it is.
That's another thing. Everything is reflective, even something that doesn't seem reflective. It's this concept called Fresnel.
That's
Basically,
why I
the
thought it
angle
was
that
real.
you're looking at something,
The reflection
that
is
surface
crazy.
becomes more and more reflective depending on the angle that you're looking at.
Every
Yeah,
camera
facts.
responds to color and luminance values differently. So when you have a CG render and you have your footage and you're trying to bring them together, you have to try to match those as best you can. And in this case, we're seeing perfect ratios. The value of the brightness of the highlights are once again mathematically perfect on the robots, corresponding to the luminance of how they are in the actual real footage behind them. Yes, these are things you can dial in with lots and lots and lots of work, but at the end of the day, it's so perfect and the color science is so exactly matched that really the only way to do it is to do it for real.
The thing in that shot right there that I noticed right away is the shadow of the robot on the left marrying with the shadow of the pillar. The thing about shadows
just
is that
crazy.
it's just absence of light. But the problem with shadow renders is that now it's an actual layer that you have to blend with reality. So if it's going to make the existing real shadow darker.
It's gonna double up on itself.
Yeah, so you have to like do some really complex compositing
Oh.
to kind of like remove the part of the shadow that is going to line up. That's doable, but in my experience,
Geez, like people that don't understand none of this that they're saying, bro. It caught people off guard. Like
you
that's
end up
just
with
crazy.
like this problem with the edge. It's really hard to kind of make that blend, and there's certain tools that we use to kind of facilitate that and make it better, but it's a huge challenge, and I'm looking at that and I'm like,
It's perfect.
it's perfect.
There's a lot of science around how to make surfaces look good, and there's a lot of science around the simulating of light. But the hardest thing to do in CGI these days is motion. The moment you have like a skeleton and it's moving around, you have a couple different issues you have to deal with. One is you have momentum and inertia, not just in the part that's moving, but the entire system. If I throw my arm forwards and backwards, my other shoulder moves, my other arm moves, my head moves. There's so much that happens when movement occurs that it becomes an incredibly recursive system of complexity. And at some point as an artist, you just cut it off. And that's the other reason people do a lot of motion capture. You know, you can walk around and do this, and you can just capture all that motion, and all those recursive levels of detail of inertia and momentum and balance are just happening in real life. So they just obviously motion capture the robots. To which I'd be like, no, the robots cannot move the mass and inertia and center of gravity of a human being.
From a biomechanics standpoint, these robots aren't even the same shape as humans. You see it and you're like, that's a human-shaped robot, but if you're actually like measure out the proportions, they're not gonna be the same as a human. So
They're
the moment
small.
you try
They're
attaching
shorter.
human-sized motion capture to it, you're gonna have some problems because things aren't gonna line up.
Like when he reaches up and like does that with his feet, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
that won't line up. You'll have to go in and retarget that all manually, and then the hand of the artist gets involved. And the moment an artist starts doing their own animation is the moment it stops being physically real.
To be
Damn.
fair, there are some incredible animators out there
You're right.
who could do this completely keyframed. Because if you think about it, the actual people who designed this robot dance basically keyframed it.
They keyframed it, but then that keyframing was ran through basically an AI. There's effectively a simulated AI version of the robot doing its moves, and then the real life robots trying to match those movements based on the predictions the AI is making. Like every time you see somebody kick Spot, and Spot goes, and like gets its balance, there's an
Yeah.
AI in there that's running a simulated version of that robot, and the moment it's off balance, that then
Damn,
gets
that
turned
robot
into
big as
real life
hell.
impulses for the motors to then try to move the legs to the same spot, and hopefully it all works out. But it doesn't, as we saw in the parkour video when the robots biff it. Speed up to it.
That'd be looking like the American Funny Home Videos, like literally like that, like that just happened.
Seeing the failures helps make this even feel more real. It actually has the same kind of like, oh, I messed up, that we do. You know,
Yeah.
it's still a very natural, organic reaction of like, I'm flailing.
So one thing we can do here is we can see the robot's center of gravity if we go to where it does a flip. And why are we figuring out the center of gravity? Because human beings have one spot where it is, and let's see where it is in these robots.
What do developers build on the SendGrid API? A service to send a password reset to a confused customer. A tool.
And it looks like it's just a little bit behind the H on the side of the body.
So kind of down towards the bottom of the torso, but not the very bottom.
Yeah, so human beings, the center of gravity is like right about here. Whereas the robots, their center of gravity is right here, partially because they have a whole big battery.
Big
and stuff.
backpack.
And if this is motion captured, the way it would spin would not be around the robot center of gravity, it'd be around where it would be for the human who did the shot. So in other words, this isn't motion capture.
Oh yeah, one of the things we're forgetting to mention is inertia. It's basically the resistance to motion. Something with a lot of mass doesn't
Them shits
begin
is crazy.
moving very easily. It takes a little bit of like time to accelerate something that weighs a lot versus doesn't weigh much at all. If everything falls at a certain rate, how is it that I can drop something from here and then lower my hand quicker to grab it before it hits the ground? Like, watch this, ready?
Sheesh, couldn't do it.
You've made your point. You made your point.
Yes.
I'm glad
Couldn't
you
do
didn't use
it.
my controller.
That sort of stuff really matters with the type of animation you're seeing here. And it's the stuff that they're having to account for in the actual coding of the motion of these robots. And that's something that anyone animating something in CG, they're just like, keyframe here, move it, keyframe there. Easy ease, done. So I guess what I'm saying is we actually kind of see that jittery motion that robots have.
Yeah,
Nah,
there's
but the
there's
robots is
there's
real
vibration.
though,
Like
for
when
sure.
the feet hit the ground, they go, "Boom," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that we as a biological human can really replicate. And Clint did an excellent job. It's hard to overstate the value of Clint's performance.
They trick you with the Boston dynamics. It's bosstown.
Damn, I can't unsee see the hand when he flips over the table. I see that shit all the time
It
now.
looks so realistic.
We fooled Joe Rogan.
Like twice, too.
But here's the thing: we're not that far off from this thing.
No, okay. Let's walk it back.
Lex Friedman is the one of note here because he's like the big MIT AI specialist here. And his whole thing was like, okay, no. Don't get ahead of yourself. The animation that you see was done for comedy, because it was slapstick. And it was Clint expertly pretending to be a robot, but also kind of like showing emotion in the way he actually moves. And there's a lot of subtleties in how that motion is accomplished that robots can't yet do.
Yes.
Those qualities are like another order of magnitude.
Like this here.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a few things that we are specifically doing
I know that shit hurt. That shit hit my stomach.
to help us, right? And the biggest thing is
don't wanna
real-time
see that shit again.
interaction. It's very intentional that Jake crosses frame between the robot and the camera and then hands him a gun that the robot then takes. Every single time you see gunfire in this entire video, that is real firearms being fired.
But in a separate take with no one around.
Yeah,
and,
all safely done.
and stitched back into the shot. But that dedication to realism and filming the elements for real is why people are fooled in this. Because it's not just about the CGI robot. It's about everything. It's about the interactions.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so the bees thing.
Bees?
The bees thing was added as a clear, like, this is fake. And it still didn't work.
Yeah, I just like, why do people think this is fake when our thing is real?
I think it comes down to.
Oh, so the whole point of this video is they low key hating. I wouldn't say they're hating, but I'm just like, they just mad because the stuff that they did was real, and then the stuff that they did was fake, and it's like, how y'all
One is
how y'all hating
emotion
on us?
being so perfect. Like, they are perfectly in sync, right? It feels like it's animated, because it is. But we're seeing it brought to life through an animatronic. The other thing that I think is triggering us is the large windows are creating a very nice side soft light, which is like how every CG render is lit these days with large freaking soft boxes. So it follows the same lighting convention that we're used to.
We have an entire show dedicated to why visual effects don't feel real. People have no idea why a shot looks fake. They just see it and they're like, that looks off. I have no idea why, it just looks off.
That's what I'm
And the
saying.
reason why people are looking at this and saying it looks off is for the wrong reasons.
It could
Yeah,
just be true
literally.
that we're so used to seeing this cool sci-fi stuff in films.
I think there are visual effects houses that are capable of replicating this level of detail, you know. But then it becomes like a multi-dozen person crew spending a lot of time and therefore a lot of money to do this.
I don't think any VFX shop on the planet could make this 2.5-minute sequence to the flawless quality that we're seeing here. There's just too many steps in the chain where artistic interpretation needs to happen. And once again, the moment artistic interpretation happens is the moment the real science and physics stop existing. And there is not a single pixel in here that is not scientifically accurate to what would actually have been captured if it was captured for real, because
Technology.
it was not captured for real.
Technology is crazy.
All right, there's a lot of talk right
Technology
now
is
about
crazy.
how hard these robot videos would be to create and to make them look real, and the nuance with the shadows and the movement and all the lighting and everything like that. Well, guess what? Courtesy of today's sponsor, ExpressVPN, I'm going to be making a robot
Thank
of
you.
my own to show.
Thank you for letting me know.
ExpressVPN has
Thank
been
you for
rated
letting me know.
number
Thank you for letting me know.
looking
Though.
in your smart fridge.
True. Bye bye, robot.
Bye. You see, it's
Thank you for letting me know.
vpn.com/corridorcrew.
Wonderful.
So I love sitting down and kind of analyzing actual real life things and either debunking them, like in the case of the UFO stuff, or bunking them, like in the case of Boston Dynamics. If there are any video clips you guys would like us to look at and apply that is it visual effects eye, or what would it take for it to be visual effects, please leave a suggestion down in the comments below. Maybe we look at the Bigfoot video next, who knows?
Who knows? But hey, if you made it to the end of the video, you obviously like the video, so you obviously gotta subscribe, man. Hit the sub button, y'all. We on the road to 1,100 subs. I love each and every one of y'all that has stayed with me through the end of the video. I really appreciate y'all guys. And with that being said, it's your boy Johnny Finesse, and I'ma holla at y'all. Peace.